Right now, people are sleeping warmer in cars than some apartments. Let that sink in. Not campers, not van life influencers, regular working adults, teachers, warehouse workers, caregivers, retirees, people who clock in every morning and still don't earn enough to keep a roof over their heads. So they sleep in vehicles. And the disturbing part isn't that they're doing it. It's that they've figured out how to survive winter using principles most homes actively ignore. Cars weren't designed to be bedrooms. They were designed to move. Thin metal walls, glass on every side, no insulation, no ventilation planning, no moisture control. Yet every night, thousands of people turn them into survival capsules. Not because they want to, because rent doubled, because medical bills arrived, because one missed paycheck erased their margin. It usually happens quietly. 1 month you're renewing a lease. The next, you're folding down a back seat. People don't fall into car sleeping. Dramatically. They slide. A breakup. A job cut. A landlord selling the building. Suddenly, your possessions are in storage, and your address is wherever you parked last. Here's what surprises most people. Cars aren't chosen because they're comfortable. They're chosen because they're invisible. A tent attracts attention. A car blends in. Parked on a residential street, a sedan looks like someone visiting a friend. In a grocery store lot, it looks like someone shopping late. In an industrial area, it looks like an employee working overtime. Nobody calls the police on a parked Toyota. And invisibility is safety. But cars also offer something tents never will. Locking doors, glass barriers, physical separation from wind, snow, and strangers. That alone changes survival math. Now here's the part nobody tells you. Nearly half of people living this way have jobs. They work full shifts. They smile at customers. They attend meetings. Then they drive somewhere quiet and go to sleep, in a back seat. The fastest growing group? Older adults on fixed incomes, people who did everything right, paid taxes, raised families, retired responsibly, then watched rent climb past their Social Security check. So how do you turn a freezing metal box into something that won't kill you overnight? Because that's the real question. A car without heat becomes dangerous fast. Hypothermia doesn't announce itself. It arrives quietly. First, your fingers go numb. Then your judgment fades. Then your body stops shivering. And once that happens, things turn serious. So experienced car sleepers follow rules, not suggestions. Rules. The first rule is insulation. Metal bleeds heat. Glass bleeds it faster. Every exposed surface becomes an exit point for warmth, so people cover everything. Reflective windshield covers, foam board in windows, cardboard layered behind fabric, even grocery bags stuffed into door cavities. Not for comfort, for air trapping. Because still air is insulation. Reflectix is the most common material. It looks like bubble wrap wrapped in aluminum foil. Costs about $1 per square foot. People cut it to fit each window and press it into place at night. From the street, the car looks empty. Inside, body heat stays contained. But walls and windows are only half the battle. Cold comes from below. Vehicle floors sit inches above frozen pavement, which means the ground steals heat faster than the air ever could. So people insulate downward first. Yoga mats, moving blankets, foam camping pads, anything that lifts their body off the metal. Veterans know this. Beginners learn the hard way. One night on bare flooring will teach you quickly. Then comes moisture. This is where most people fail. Your breath contains water. 8 hours of breathing fills a small car with humidity. That moisture condenses on cold surfaces. Windows fog. Fabric gets damp. Mattresses absorb sweat. and damp insulation loses effectiveness. Worse, moisture accelerates, hypothermia. Wet cold penetrates deeper, so ventilation becomes non-negotiable. Even in sub-zero weather, windows get cracked 1 inch. Always. It feels wrong. But here's the thing. You lose far more heat to condensation than you do through a controlled airflow gap. Dry cold is survivable. Wet cold is deadly. People learn to manage airflow like engineers. Crack windows on opposite sides for cross-ventilation. Aim for slow exchange, not gusts. Balance warmth with dryness. It's a constant adjustment. Now let's talk about bedding, because blankets alone won't save you. Layering follows mountaineering logic. Bottom layer traps air. Middle layer insulates. Top layer blocks drafts. Sleeping bags rated for 20 degrees Fahrenheit are common, not because it gets that cold inside the car, but because ratings assume outdoor exposure. Inside vehicles, those same bags perform much better. People stack blankets inside sleeping bags, not over them. Inside. That traps warmth where it matters. They wear hats while sleeping. Up to 30% of body heat escapes through the head. Socks stay on. Sometimes gloves. Feet get extra padding. Cold extremities wake you faster than anything else. And here's a small trick that makes a huge difference. Hot water bottles. Fill one at a gas station sink. Seal it. Tuck it near your feet. 6 hours of radiant heat for free. People have used this method for over a century. It still works. But insulation and bedding only slow heat loss. They don't create heat. Which brings us to the most dangerous topic of all. Heating. Many assume portable heaters are the answer. They're not. Combustion inside enclosed vehicles is one of the fastest ways to die quietly. Carbon monoxide is odorless, colorless, heavier than oxygen. It doesn't trigger panic. It just replaces air while you sleep. This is why experienced sleepers avoid open flame. No candles, no charcoal, no improvised burners. Some use electric blankets powered by battery systems. Low draw, high efficiency. Others rely purely on layered insulation and metabolic heat. If any heater is used, carbon monoxide detectors are mandatory. Mounted at breathing height, not near the ceiling. Because CO doesn't rise, it hovers exactly where your face is. Even then, heaters are used sparingly. Short bursts. Never overnight. Survival isn't about comfort. It's about waking up. Now here's something counterintuitive. People don't chase warmth. They chase stability. A consistent routine matters more than a few extra degrees. Vehicles get parked before sunset. Beds are set up while there's still light. Clothes for morning are laid out within arm's reach. Water bottles filled. Phones charged. Everything prepared before darkness, because fumbling with gloves and flashlights at midnight wastes energy, and energy equals warmth. Parking strategy becomes its own science. Busy areas invite attention. Isolated areas invite risk. So people choose middle ground. Hospital lots, industrial parks, residential streets with overnight parking. They rotate locations. Never the same spot 2 nights in a row. Patterns attract complaints. Movement preserves anonymity. Timing matters. Arrive late. Leave early. Blend in. They become ghosts on wheels. Bathrooms require planning. Some use portable setups for emergencies. Most rely on gyms, libraries, and 24-hour stores. Planet Fitness memberships cost less than most phone plans and provide showers nationwide. Libraries offer warmth, restrooms, and internet. Public spaces become lifelines. Food stays simple, high-calorie, low-prep, peanut butter, rice, beans, canned soup, hot meals whenever possible. Because digestion creates heat, skipping dinner means sleeping colder. Every decision connects back to thermal survival. Even posture matters. People sleep curled, knees drawn in. Minimizing surface area. Reducing exposure. This isn't accidental. It's instinct refined through repetition. And here's the emotional part nobody talks about. After a few weeks, something changes. The shock fades. Routines form. Systems stabilize. Stress doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable. People stop thinking hour to hour. They start thinking day to day. That's when recovery begins. But winter tests everything. Batteries drain faster. Cars struggle to start. Jobs get harder to keep. Every cold snap adds pressure. Yet people adapt. They always do. Not because it's inspiring, because the alternative is unthinkable. And right now, while most of us are adjusting thermostats, someone is counting breaths to prevent condensation. Someone is repositioning blankets to save toes. Someone is cracking a window in freezing air to stay alive. This isn't a fringe lifestyle. It's a quiet response to a system under strain. And it's happening everywhere. Once you understand the basics of warmth, something else becomes obvious. Sleeping in a car isn't just about temperature. It's about managing an entire microenvironment. Air, light, sound, movement. Every night becomes a controlled experiment. And one of the biggest threats isn't even cold. It's condensation. Inside a sealed vehicle, moisture builds fast. Two people sleeping can release nearly a liter of water into the air overnight just from breathing. That water has to go somewhere. It settles on windows, soaks into blankets, seeps into clothing. And once insulation gets damp, its ability to retain heat collapses. So people build vapor barriers, plastic sheets under bedding, trash bags between layers, emergency mylar blankets lining doors. Not for shine, for reflection. Those silver sheets bounce radiant heat back toward the body while blocking moisture transfer. They're cheap. They crinkle. They save lives. But there's a balance. Seal everything too tightly, and oxygen drops. Carbon dioxide rises. People wake with headaches, or don't wake at all. So airflow never stops, even during blizzards. That 1-inch window crack stays open. Cold air comes in low. Warm air escapes high. The exchange keeps humidity under control. It feels backward, but veterans know. Dry cold beats damp warmth every time. Now let's talk about clothing. Not fashion, function. People don't wear their warmest clothes to sleep. They wear dry clothes. That matters more. Sweat trapped in heavy layers becomes ice by morning. So outerwear comes off. Base layers go on. Synthetic or wool whenever possible. Cotton is avoided. Cotton holds moisture. Moisture steals heat. It's that simple. Socks get rotated. One pair for sleeping, one for daytime. Wet socks don't get worn. They get dried against the body under blankets. Same with gloves. Same with shirts. Nothing goes on cold and damp if it can be helped. Then there's positioning. Where you sleep inside the car matters. Rear seats are colder. Trunks bleed heat. Front seats sit closer to the engine block, which retains warmth for hours after driving. So many people sleep in the front. Seat reclined, feet elevated. Or they remove back seats entirely and build flat platforms that keep their body centered in the warmest zone. Every inch counts. Now here's something most housed people never consider. Silence. Cars amplify sound. Every passing vehicle, every footstep, every door slam echoes inside. So sleepers learn to manage noise. They park away from main roads, avoid gravel lots, choose pavement. They use earplugs, white noise apps, small fans powered by battery packs, not for comfort, for rest, because fragmented sleep destroys judgment, and judgment keeps you alive. Security is another layer. Doors always locked. Keys always within reach. Phone always charged. Some install motion lights inside. If someone tugs a handle, light floods the cabin. Most people leave. They don't want surprises. Parking orientation matters. Cars are always positioned for fast exits. Nose out. Never boxed in. Never against curbs that block doors. Escape routes are planned subconsciously. It becomes automatic. People also learn when not to sleep. Storm nights, police sweep nights, neighborhood complaint nights. Sometimes it's safer to drive until dawn than risk being asked to move while half asleep and frozen. Which brings us to the mental side. Because surviving winter in a car isn't just physical, it's psychological. The first few nights are brutal. Your mind races. Every sound feels threatening. Every shiver feels permanent. But then something happens. Patterns emerge. You learn which grocery stores tolerate overnight parking, which hospital garages are quiet, which neighborhoods are safe until morning. You learn where to refill water, where to warm up, where to disappear. That knowledge reduces fear, and reduced fear conserves energy. Energy equals warmth. People create routines, wake times, meal times, charging times, movement breaks, even stretching schedules. Structure becomes insulation for the mind. And when storms hit, that structure tightens. Food gets rationed. Batteries get conserved. Driving gets minimized. Blankets get reorganized. Everything becomes deliberate. Because winter exposes weak systems fast. Now here's something that rarely gets mentioned. Community. Even in cars, people find each other. They exchange information quietly. A nod in a parking lot. A note on a windshield. A whispered warning about security patrols. Someone shares which church offers breakfast. Someone else shares where free hand warmers are being distributed. It's not dramatic. It's practical. Networks form because isolation kills, and storms accelerate bonding. When temperatures drop, people cluster closer. Not physically, geographically. Safer zones fill up. Vehicles park in loose groups. Eyes watch for unfamiliar movement. If one car starts in distress, others notice. No official rules, just mutual awareness. But winter also brings displacement. Cities conduct sweeps for safety. People are told to move while snow is actively falling. Cars get ticketed. Windows get knocked. Sleep cycles get shattered. So experienced sleepers keep everything mobile. Beds roll up in under 5 minutes. Reflectix pulls out of windows instantly. Nothing is permanently installed unless it can be removed fast. You don't build homes, you build systems that move. Now let's talk about power. Phones, lights, heated blankets, all require electricity. Most rely on portable power stations or deep cycle batteries charged while driving. Solar helps in summer. Winter sun barely does anything, so driving becomes charging. 30 minutes of engine time can power phones and lights for days, but that fuel costs money, so usage is rationed. LED lights only. Low brightness, screens dimmed, everything optimized, because energy management equals survival. And here's the hardest truth. No amount of clever setup replaces stable housing. Every trick exists because something failed. Every hack was learned after someone froze. This isn't resilience, it's adaptation under pressure. People don't want to master condensation physics. They don't want to memorize parking rotations. They don't want to engineer warmth from blankets and breath. They're doing it because they have to. And every winter, some don't make it. Not loudly, not on the news, quietly, in parked cars, in rest stops, in residential streets, which is why those who survive take nothing for granted. They check toes. They check fingers. They do buddy calls. They monitor weather obsessively. They don't ignore fatigue, because the most dangerous moment isn't midnight. It's just before dawn. That's when body temperature dips lowest. That's when exhaustion overrides caution. That's when people think, "I'll rest for a minute." And minutes become forever. So alarms get set. Movement breaks happen. Hands flex. Feet rotate. Blood gets pushed back into extremities. Staying alive becomes active, not passive. And when morning finally comes, engines turn over, frost melts off windshields, and people drive to work like nothing happened. They buy coffee. They smile at coworkers. They answer emails. Nobody knows they just survived another night in a freezing car. That's the invisible part. The world keeps moving. So do they. By the time most people start their morning commute, the hardest part of the night is already over. Engines turn. Defrosters kick on. Hands slowly come back to life. And for a few quiet minutes, parked cars across the city fill with warm air and heavy breathing. Survival mode powers down. Normal life switches back on. People brush their hair using rearview mirrors. They change shirts in the driver's seat. They sip gas station coffee and scroll job listings. From the outside, they look like anyone else starting a regular day. That's the strange thing about sleeping in a car. You don't disappear from society. You just live underneath it. Now here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Frostbite. Cold doesn't always announce itself with pain. Sometimes it shows up as numbness. Sometimes as stiffness. Sometimes as skin that looks pale or waxy. By the time it hurts, damage has already started. So experienced sleepers check their hands and feet before bed. Then again at 3 a.m. Then again at dawn. They massage fingers. They flex toes. They rotate wrists. They don't wait for sensation. They force circulation. Because circulation is warmth. And warmth is life. Hands and feet get special treatment. Extra socks. Chemical hand warmers. Hot water bottles tucked near ankles. Even cheap rice stuffed into socks and heated at gas stations becomes makeshift heat packs. Nothing fancy, just functional. People learn to recognize danger signs. Shivering that won't stop. Slurred thoughts. Clumsiness. Sudden exhaustion. Those are red flags. When that happens, you don't try to tough it out. You start the engine. You drive. You go somewhere warm. Pride doesn't survive hypothermia. Action does. Now let's talk about carbon monoxide. Because this is where things get deadly. Running a car while sleeping feels logical. Heat equals safety. But exhaust gases don't care about logic. Even modern vehicles can leak carbon monoxide into cabins, especially when snow blocks tailpipes. That invisible gas builds silently. No smell, no warning, just dizziness, then unconsciousness, then nothing. So veterans never sleep with engines running. They warm up, they shut off, they repeat. Short cycles, never continuous. Tailpipes get checked every snowfall. Snowdrifts get kicked away. Windows stay cracked. Portable carbon monoxide detectors sit near pillows. These aren't accessories. They're lifelines. Every winter, people die because they didn't know this. Or they knew and got desperate. Now here's the part most viewers don't expect. Donation myths. People love to give blankets, coats, hats. Those help. But they're not what matters most. What actually helps? Gas cards, laundry, cards, portable batteries, window reflectors, foam insulation, hot water bottles, gym memberships. Those change outcomes. A $20 fuel card can mean 5 nights of safe warm-ups. A $10 windshield shade can raise interior temps by double digits. A $25 battery pack keeps phones alive, which keeps emergency access alive. Practical tools outperform symbolic kindness every time. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Food donations often miss the mark. Perishables spoil. Canned goods require can openers. Bulky meals don't fit in cramped spaces. What helps? High-fat snacks, peanut butter, trail mix, cheese, shelf-stable calories that burn slow and warm the body from the inside. People don't need gourmet. They need thermodynamics. But let's zoom out for a moment, because this isn't really about cars, it's about adaptation. Human beings are incredibly good at surviving environments they were never meant to endure. They turn vehicles into bedrooms, parking lots into neighborhoods, gas stations into kitchens, libraries into power plants. They build routines out of scarcity, systems out of scraps, warmth out of planning. And they do it quietly, without headlines, without recognition. Most of the people sleeping in cars tonight had apartments once. They had leases, furniture, photos on walls. Some still have jobs. Some have kids they see on weekends. Some are seniors on fixed incomes who simply couldn't keep up. This isn't a fringe group. It's a growing one. And winter doesn't care why you're there. It treats everyone the same. The cold is democratic. Metal doesn't discriminate. Now, here's the part that sticks with people who've lived this way. You stop measuring comfort the same way. A warm cup of coffee becomes luxury. Dry socks feel like winning. A quiet parking spot feels safer than any gated community. Small victories start to matter. And gratitude becomes strangely sharp. Because when you're this close to the edge, every stable moment feels borrowed. Some people make it out. They save enough. They find housing. They rebuild. Others cycle in and out seasonally. Winter in cars, summer on couches, then back again. And some get stuck. Years pass. Vehicles age. Repairs get postponed. Everything becomes harder. Which is why those still surviving cold nights in cars don't romanticize any of this. They don't call it freedom. They call it temporary. They're not chasing aesthetics. They're managing risk. And here's the final thing most people never realize. Sleeping in a car without heat isn't one trick. It's 1,000 tiny decisions made correctly every single night. Where you park, what you eat, how you dress, which window you crack, when you run the engine, how you layer blankets, where you place your feet, when you move, when you rest. Miss enough of those decisions, and winter wins. But get them right, and something remarkable happens. You wake up, again, and again, and again, until spring. Right now, people are sleeping warmer in cars than some apartments. Not because they want to, because they learned how. They studied heat. They mastered airflow. They optimized routines. They leaned on each other. They turned survival into a system. And tomorrow morning, they'll merge back into traffic like nothing happened. No signs, no announcements, just another driver heading to work. But now you know. Behind some fogged-up windshields are people running full-scale thermal operations just to make it through the night. Not heroes, not statistics, just humans doing whatever it takes to stay alive. And that might be the most honest definition of resilience there is.